I had some things I wanted to get off my chest. Back in 2012, 2013, during those times, at this point I can be more open about it. I was in a bad way of life. I had very little friends. My relationship with my family was on the rocks, kind of elusive. It was a time of existential crises. As I may have mentioned a little bit in the past, there were times in my life where I was suicidal. Few years. During those specific years, it was the worst of it. Today, that would never happen. My faith in myself is too strong, my beliefs are too much ingrained, as well as I've grown far from who I was back then. Back then, I had plenty of uncertainties, highly insecure, alone, struggling with my faith, struggling with relationships. Around that time was when I met the one and only Circus. As, of course, those of you who do not know me, or you just come upon this video, will not know. Perhaps even some of my friends will not know. God knows, so to speak, if my family will ever catch wind of this. Circus was my mistress. I inherited her name, hence the name Circus Madness. I was endowed, if that's the correct way to put it, name Madness. The reasons for may not get into it, but yes, there were reasons. This person at the time, I met oddly enough when I was getting my motorcycle license. Being the person that I was, adrenaline was one of the ways I was coping with stuff in life. She also was getting a motorcycle license. As you may imagine, what type of person who was getting a motorcycle license, at the time I'd be. Um, she was, not to dox or anything, around 20 years older than me. I was in my early 20s back then. It is her that I credit with lots of terrible things that happened to me back then. It is also her that I credit with some of the more fundamental, proven, either information, facts, or ideas that till this day have stood the test of time. What those are, well, they are private. They are not the kind of things that you might say at a dinner table. As you may imagine, what type of lessons that you would learn from being in a relationship with someone 20 years older than you. It's even more than that. She was my mistress. She was a professional dominatrix, and she was financially as well as intellectually much more matured, advanced, and capable than I was, especially back then. I had fallen for her, and the relationship gave fruit to things that I dare not imagine where I would have gotten had I been in a different way of my life back then. You may even argue that I was taken advantage of. In fact, perhaps that was exactly the case. These days, looking back, maybe it's just me. Perhaps the type of love or how I express love to others is how it functions for me. But till this day, I have a lot of love and affection for this person, even though I haven't spoken to them for like, fuck, I'd say almost 10 years now. What does it mean to me these days to have been in a relationship like that? I can't say for sure. It's one of those things that is neither black nor white. It has all these different facets in which it benefited me greatly, and all the different facets where it kind of scarred me for life. Today, I can say I've gotten over a lot of the things that maybe were not so good for me at the time, but with the maturity I have gained over time, I could understand where a lot of it was going. I do not regret making the choice to end that relationship, although it was not so much me that ended it. The situation was a lot more complicated than that. I dare say I'll never really tell the full stories, at least not on here. Maybe if ever I meet some people face to face, or perhaps some of my friends face to face, I might gain the courage to say. If anything, I'm glad that today I can talk about it. I'm glad that today I can be on this channel, this, I guess, archive files or whatever you want to call them, that say my thoughts on. As relationships of that manner are not what they used to be. And that's just from my experience. Seeing what these things are like today, and seeing and speaking to people, other people who have been through similar situations, there seems to be common factors that keep bringing themselves up. And I felt the need to just give my 2 cents on it. I don't think that for the rest of my life I'll ever be able to be in a regular relationship. By regular relationship, I mean relationships that don't involve these types of, now and perhaps even more so in the future, toxic or taboo or unorthodox ways of caring for one another and being there for one another in the ways that it is. In the same breath, I would argue that there's very little people that could have cared for me the way that she did. Among the people that I've spoken to this about the past, they always tell me, ah, you should have gone to a therapist or something like that. Well, maybe I should have. And I have before I met this person. And I have in the past, but not for that reason, after this person. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I didn't hang around for long enough. Say what you say. I've also spoken to people who told me about this. Some of these people, they just don't cut it. They don't help you. They don't know how. Perhaps they're not equipped. Perhaps it was me that was not able to afford somebody that was adequate for my particular issue. I wouldn't be able to tell you. It's not so much that I'm dunking on anybody or any program to, to begin with. It might a little bit sound that way, but the reality is some things just don't have a script for it. They don't have an easy answer. And perhaps it was, again, just me. It's not that I was looking for an easy answer, but I wanted an answer. I wanted to at least know something, to come out of it better. But all I had was a lot more along the lines that you just need to share your feelings about it. You just need to be open and you need to grow past it. And you can't blame this, you can't blame that. Even to some regard, saying it was my fault. I made the choice. And these days, what happens amongst adults, well, we can all understand and imagine. Will I ever contact this person again? I couldn't if I wanted to. The ties were irrevocably severed, incapable of any new contact, and that was for the best. I really doubt that you'll ever see this video, is pretty much what I would say is impossible. And the stories are in that relationship itself are very long, and whatever the opposite of few and far between is, it was a very particular, very short lived, like maybe 8 months of my life, maybe ranging on a year. It's all blurry. Who I am now, though, as that would always be part of me, that relationship, the things that I've learned, they've become a part of me. So it's just for the sake of formalities and just for the sake of marking the day. Circus, my love, I don't know if I'll ever miss you again, but thank you.